Most people think relief comes after everything is fixed, after the problem is solved, after the money comes, after the message arrives, after the pain leaves, after the future becomes clear. And because of that, many people spend their whole life delaying peace. They tell themselves, I will relax when this is over. I will breathe when things calm down. I will feel okay when I finally get control. But for many people, that moment never fully comes. Because life is not a straight line toward comfort, it is wave after wave. One challenge ends, another begins. One pressure disappears, another takes its place. So if relief only comes when life is perfect, then relief becomes something very far away, something rare, something fragile. And that is why so many people feel tired all the time. Not because they are weak, not because they are failing, but because they have learned to postpone rest until life gives them permission. The truth is, relief is not always the reward at the end of the struggle. Sometimes relief is the way you survive the struggle. Sometimes relief is not a destination, it is a skill. A lot of people are walking around carrying invisible weight, responsibilities, fear, unspoken sadness, pressure to be strong, pressure to be productive, pressure to know what they are doing. And the strange thing about emotional weight is that you can carry it for so long that it starts to feel normal. You do not even realize how tense you are, how hard you are breathing, how much your shoulders are holding, how much your mind is scanning for danger. You call it normal, you call it adulthood, you call it ambition, you call it being responsible. But often it is simply a nervous system that has forgotten how to soften. That is why relief feels so powerful, because relief is not just comfort, it is release. It is the moment your body says, for now, I am safe. It is the moment your mind stops fighting everything. It is the moment your heart loosens its grip. And sometimes that moment is small. A deep breath after hours of tension. A conversation where you finally feel understood. A silent room after too much noise. A walk alone at sunset. Crying after holding everything in for too long. Hearing someone say, you do not have to carry this alone. That is relief. And maybe one of the reasons people suffer so much is because they think relief has to be earned. They think they must be more productive first, more disciplined first, more successful first, more together first. But relief is not laziness. Relief is not weakness. Relief is not giving up. Relief is what allows a human being to continue without breaking. Even the body understands this. When you lift something heavy, you eventually have to set it down, not because you are incapable, but because that is how strength is protected. The mind works the same way. The heart works the same way. The soul works the same way. If you never put anything down, eventually everything becomes heavy, even simple things, even beautiful things, even people you love. And that is when life starts to feel too loud, too demanding, too sharp. Sometimes you are not angry, you are overloaded. Sometimes you are not lazy, you are drained. Sometimes you are not ungrateful, you are simply desperate for relief. And once you understand that, you begin to judge yourself less harshly, because a person who needs relief is not broken, they are human. But there is something important to understand. Not all relief is healing. Some relief only numbs. Some relief only distracts. Some relief gives you a break for a moment but leaves you emptier afterward. That is why people run to things that quiet the mind quickly. Scrolling, overeating, avoidance, endless entertainment, shallow busyness, anything that helps them not feel what they are feeling. And for a moment it works. For a moment there is relief, but when the distraction ends, the weight is still there. Sometimes it is even heavier, because temporary escape is not the same as true release. Real relief does not always come from running away. Sometimes it comes from finally facing what hurts. It comes from telling the truth. It comes from admitting, this is too much for me right now. It comes from letting yourself grieve what you lost. It comes from asking for help before you completely shut down. It comes from resting before your body forces you to stop. That kind of relief is deeper. It may not feel dramatic. It may not happen all at once, but it is real. Real relief is when you stop pretending, when you stop performing strength, when you stop acting as if everything is fine when it clearly is not. And that honesty can be terrifying, because many people have built their identity around being the strong one, the calm one, the reliable one, the one who handles everything. So when they begin to feel overwhelmed, they do not know how to respond. They feel guilty for needing a pause, ashamed for being tired, embarrassed for needing softness. But there is nothing shameful about reaching your limit. Limits are not proof of weakness. They are proof that you are real. And maybe maturity is not becoming a person who never needs relief. Maybe maturity is becoming a person who notices when they need it and allows themselves to receive it. There is wisdom in that. There is wisdom in sitting down before collapse, in going quiet before resentment grows, in crying before numbness takes over, in saying no before your body says it for you. Because the body always speaks in the end. If you ignore your stress, it may become exhaustion. If you ignore your grief, it may become heaviness. If you ignore your fear, it may become restlessness. If you ignore your need for relief, it may become a life that feels impossible to enjoy. And many people live that way for years. They function, they produce, they smile, they show up, but inside they are carrying too much. And what they need is not always a vacation or a big life change. Sometimes what they need is permission. Permission to stop for a while, permission to not have all the answers, permission to be held, permission to be ordinary, permission to not solve everything today. There is a kind of relief that comes when you realize you do not have to win every battle in your mind, you do not have to answer every fear, you do not have to control every outcome, you do not have to carry every possible future all at once. Some things can be left alone for today. That is not irresponsibility, that is mercy, and mercy matters. We live in a world that teaches people how to push, but not always how to soften, how to achieve, but not always how to recover, how to appear strong, but not always how to become whole. So many people know how to survive pressure. Fewer know how to return to themselves after it. That is why relief can feel unfamiliar at first, almost uncomfortable. When you have lived in tension for too long, calm can feel strange. When you have lived in noise for too long, silence can feel empty. When you have lived in survival mode for too long, rest can even feel unsafe. But that does not mean rest is wrong. It means your body has learned to expect pressure. And healing is partly the process of teaching yourself again that peace is allowed, that softness is allowed, that stillness is allowed, that relief is allowed. You do not need to deserve every breath of peace. You do not need to explain every need for rest. You do not need to turn recovery into another performance. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply stop and say, I need a moment to breathe, a moment to feel, a moment to release what is not yours to carry right now. And when you do that, something shifts. You begin to return to your life instead of just enduring it. Because real relief does not only remove pain, it gives you back your ability to see clearly. When you are overwhelmed, everything feels urgent, everything feels heavy, everything feels personal. But when relief enters, even for a moment, the world changes shape. You remember that not everything is falling apart. You remember that your thoughts are not always facts. You remember that one difficult season is not your whole life. You remember that you are more than your stress. That is what relief gives back. Perspective, space, breathing room, a softer inner voice, a chance to begin again without all the noise. And maybe that is what many people are truly searching for. Not constant happiness, not a perfect life, not endless success, just relief. A little room inside the chest, a little quiet inside the mind, a little hope that life does not always have to feel this hard. And the beautiful thing is, relief does not always arrive in huge ways. Sometimes it arrives in tiny acts of kindness toward yourself, putting your phone away, drinking water slowly, sitting in silence, stepping outside, telling the truth, praying, writing down what hurts, letting yourself rest without turning it into guilt. These things can look small from the outside, but inside they are acts of return. They remind you that peace is not only something that happens to you, it is also something you make space for. So if you have been feeling overwhelmed, heavy, stretched, or emotionally tired, maybe what you need is not more pressure. Maybe you need relief. Not tomorrow, not when you have earned it, not after everything is solved. Now, because life becomes easier to carry when you stop demanding that you carry it all alone, all at once, all the time. And maybe real strength is not in how much you can hold. Maybe real strength is in knowing when to loosen your grip. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. That is healing. And sometimes that is the first real breath you have taken in a very long time.